Netflix just released its new post-apocalyptic comedy drama that mixes in Lord of the Flies meets Mad Max meets Walking Dead meets Riverdale. Does it mix all those things up good? Does it have a satisfying story? We're going to talk about that and much more. This show follows 17-year-old high school outcast Josh, who is searching for his missing girlfriend Sam in post-apocalyptic Glendale, California. He is joined by a ragtag group of misfits, including a pyromaniac 12-year-old Angelica and Josh's former high school bully Wesley, now turned samurai. Josh and the group of misfits try to stay alive amidst the horde of Mad Max-style evil jocks, cheerleaders turned Amazon warriors, zombie-like creatures called goyles, and everything else this brave new world throws at him. Consider subscribing to our channel if you haven't already, and definitely make sure you hit that notification bell and comment below. Let me know what you thought of this season of Daybreak. Now, this will be a spoiler review, so if you haven't seen the season, definitely check it out. Come back, let me know what you thought of it. But if you've seen the season 1 of Daybreak, you're in the right place. So let's start off with some things I really enjoyed about this new series. So first off, trailer we got about a month ago. It piqued my interest because I love the different spins that we got within the trailer. But starting off with some things that really stood out for me in this season was just how interesting the world building that took place in this show. This post-apocalyptic Glendale in California. I love how they just kind of throw in things like the mutants or the mutilated animals and how they were affected by this post-apocalyptic event that happened with the this nuclear bomb affecting California and all the other places across the world. But I love the little Easter eggs that we get there. The goyles, how they are not really zombies, but they kind of reference to them as zombies. And there's the one episode where Josh gets bit and he thinks he has to cut his hand off. I love those things like that. I love the different different parts of the clans that we get throughout the different areas of the California area with the Kardashians and the people in the mall, the people at school, and the Mad Max gang. So I love all the different world building that we get, as well as the different locations. Again, we go from a school, we go to the cereal factory, go to the mall, we go to the little bus with all the people that were gamers. I just love the world that they built, and it just felt like a world that I wouldn't necessarily want to live in, but it's something that I could enjoy over a 10-hour span. I really enjoyed that aspect of what they were kind of doing there. The way that they chose was tell the story. And the idea of that it was 10 episodes, roughly 10 hours worth of streaming, but every other episode kind of had a different flavor, whether the episode focused more on the action stuff, the drama, or the comedy. I love that they kind of mix it up. There's one particular episode that was like a sitcom. There was one that was more in the vein of kind of an action heavy. Then there's definitely some more drama towards the end. So I love that they kind of mix it up to keep it kind of fresh, as well as the little Easter eggs and the pop culture references. Again, this is, we have Matthew Broderick, who's from Ferris Bueller Day Off, but we get references from Game of Thrones with people talking in Dothraki language. We get things from like Back to the Future. We get things like Street Fighter, Karate Kid, and so on and so forth. So I love those little Easter eggs and those pop culture references that we get throughout the season. And then also too, one of the things I really was surprised about was the different themes that this had to it. This show didn't take itself too seriously, but when it did, there is some meat that could be taken from the bone, from the sense of this was a pretty good coming of age story, from things of touching on identity, touching on welcoming others into your pack, into your clan, to your tribe, being okay with different people, as well as accepting who you are and accepting that you might not fit in with certain groups. So I love those little things that the show kind of had to bring to the table, as well as the characters. I love the direction that most characters went in for the most part, but we'll dive into some of my favorite characters here and just characters in general. Our main cast, Josh is our main protagonist throughout this story. We do get other main characters, but he's really our main storyline, him trying to find Sam. You find out about his family dynamic, things of that nature. I'm not gonna lie, there were some moments, mostly in the first act of the season and towards the back half, that I wasn't really the biggest fan of Josh. It wasn't necessarily the decision he was making. It was just he wasn't that interesting of a character compared to some of these other characters I'm going to mention here. But he was okay for the most part, and he, like I said, he was an okay lead. It was just that these other characters really stood out to me. Wesley was one of my favorite characters. He gets his first big episode in episode 5 when we have RZA from the Wu-Tang Clan doing his narration. I really enjoyed that, and you find out about him and Turbo and all the different things that he goes through and his family dynamic and him throwing a football game. So I love all that stuff that we got with Wesley. I really wish that we got more from him, because really that second half, they really did not touch on that character too much. We get Sam, who's a very interesting character, because I'm not going to lie, I wasn't the biggest fan of Sam. I thought that she was a cool character. I thought that the actress did a good job of doing what she was given. But as a character goes, it was just so uneven. And it was such a long time that we saw Sam. Yes, they mixed her in throughout the meat of the story with flashbacks. But then when we finally get her in the present time, which I believe was episode 6, and then they give her so much storyline, I just didn't feel like it was earned. And just by the end of the season, when we get the reveal with Sam or her kind of being the villain or whatnot, I don't know how I feel about Sam. Let me know what you guys thought about Sam. I'm just kind of torn on what I think about her as a character. You know, we get supporting characters that stood out to me, like Mona Lisa, Eli, who was somewhat annoying, but by the end, and you see how his character ends, you know, I thought that was a very entertaining character that brought definitely some comedic moments and just had some good times with that character. That's one thing I would applaud this show to as far as the actors go. They seem like they all had a good time with their characters, and you always love that with a show. You know, we get Turbo, who was... Let me know if I just missed it. Why wasn't he able to talk, and what happened to his face? I might have missed that because there were certain episodes that I wasn't as engaged as I was in others, but Turbo was okay. You know, he gets his moment in episode 6 where we find out about his dad being Joe Manganiello and saving people around the world, and that kind of touches on his storyline why he wants to save the kids. But Turbo was okay, but just... I felt like he was kind of underdeveloped. Another standout, obviously, main character was Mr. Barr, who was played by Matthew Broderick, and I thought he was a really interesting character and an interesting dynamic. The main villain of our season, if you want to call it that. Well, yeah, he definitely was the villain of the show, so I liked his kind of character and the twist of Ferris Bueller being a bad guy in this type of narrative. I thought that was awesome. But definitely my 2 favorite characters, without a doubt, is Mrs. Crumble, who I thought was excellent as the witch in the mall, and she gets her stand-on episode, which was the sitcom in episode 7. You find out about her and her dynamic. But I thought the actress, who sometimes reminded me of Lady Gaga, I don't know if that was on purpose, she reminded me of Lady Gaga in American Horror Story with the season with the Roanoke. But anyway, I thought that she was a great character, and I just thought she was so interesting, and I really would have loved to spend more time with her, as well as my number 1 character is Angelica. She was so funny, so smart, so witty, so manipulative. She was just such a rich character, and I loved my favorite episode was episode 3, which was her episode, and I just love when she was on screen. If they ever do another Hit Girl like movie, she should be cast as Hit Girl. She was so good. All her lines had me cracking up. She had a good emotional story. I wish she would have found her mom, and maybe if they have the season 2, we might get her. But I really enjoyed her and Mrs. Crumble's relationship because, again, she was seeking a motherly figure, and she found that in this witch that we get with Mrs. Crumble. So those are definitely my 2 favorite characters, without a doubt. As far as just my overall thoughts on the season, some standout episodes, you know, for the first 2 episodes, I was kind of on and off. Again, I was on my phone. I was enjoying some moments. There were some jokes that landed, some that fell flat, some characters that interested me, some other ones that didn't. But by that 3rd episode, again, kind of 2nd episode, definitely when he cuts off his hand, or his finger, I should say, and we get the whole mall, environment, and that's where we get Mrs. Criminal, and that's when we get Eli. That's when the show kind of found its vibe and its tone. And definitely, like I said, 3, 4, 5, and 6 were definitely my favorite. This is, to me, when the show knew what it was, and it had a narrative, and it had some interesting characters. Those were the best moments for me. And definitely, like I said, episode 3 was definitely my favorite episode, with Angelica and her backstory, and her selling the slime, and her, lying to lying about finding Sam and everything like that. So I just thought she was such a rich character, and she had the best episode and my favorite episode of the season. And then when we get, and this kind of transitions to my critique or my negative thoughts about the season, when we get to that back second half, that's when it really kind of played more on the drama. As I had mentioned earlier, the show kind of reminds me of a Riverdale meets Saved by the Bell. And it's a teen film, or a teen series. I think it's going to reach different audiences, people in their 20s or 30s, but definitely it's a teen type of film or TV show, and it plays on that in the second half because, again, they focused heavily on the romance and the drama, the teen drama, the teeny storylines, and you get to episode 8 that focuses on Sam and focuses on Just Josh and how they kind of had their on again, off again, weird relationship, that weird awkward sex scene. It was just that episode just came out of left field for me, and it wasn't really that enjoyable for me personally. It wasn't that it wasn't executed good, it just wasn't storylines that I was interested in. I really wanted to focus more on Angelica and Mrs. Crumb and Wesley and everything at the mall, but then they decided to kind of go more on the dramatic elements that just didn't really sit well with me personally. Again, it wasn't the execution, it just wasn't storylines I was really interested and invested in. So wrapping up, Again, I would definitely say there's more positives than negatives. There were like 4 episodes I love. Again, 3, 4, 5, and 6 were entertaining as hell, funny, had some really great scary moments at times, action-heavy moments, and I really enjoyed the middle half of the season. And then transition to that back half, it just wasn't for me personally. Nothing against how it was shot, how it was made, how it was acted. Just wasn't too invested in that love story element. But overall, it was fun. It was entertaining. It was unique as hell at times. It broke the fourth wall like Ferris Bueller. It has some action like, Walking Dead. It has some good, dramatic moments with the characters I really enjoy, like Angelica and Mrs. Crumb. So I would recommend you all checking it out. Again, you're looking for a fresh new take on a post-apocalyptic zombie-ish type of world. Daybreak is a show for you, and it'll be interesting to see if they bring it back for season 2, because I was very surprised by the scope of this show. This was a pretty high budget show with some, high CGI, some big locations. So it'll be interesting to see if they get a season 2, and I'll be interested in if they do decide to do a season 2, honestly, because I would love to see if they do make Sam into this villain that they kind of led to at the end of the season. So again, I recommend you all checking it out. I had a good time with it. Again, more positives than negatives for me, but let me know in the comments what you thought of Daybreak, if you've seen it, and if you're excited to check it out, and if you would like to see a season 2. Definitely give this video a thumbs up, share this video, and subscribe to our channel if you haven't already, and make sure you hit that notification bell to stay up to date with all of our videos. We will be having some more videos coming soon. Don't know what's his name. We got Watchmen on Sunday and many things in between, so definitely keep an eye out for our latest content coming up. Follow us on all of our social media accounts. Thank you for watching this review, and we'll see you in the next video.